Hello everybody, Lawrence Fleming here. Well, as you can see, I'm in my tent. Once again, it is overcast, but I did want to do a quick cooking video for you. It's been raining pretty much every day, not all day, but off and on, and all the wood's wet, so we're cooking inside. I'm going to do a pot roast that I'm going to share with a friend, and we're going to get this started here. I'm going to make it with the ingredients that I have, and I'm going to tell you some of the things you could add if you want to spice it up or whatever. The person I'm cooking for does not really like spicy food, so I'm going to do a little bit. Anyhow, I hope you enjoy this, and I'm going to have to film this inside my tent, and I don't have things set up. I had downgraded my kitchen so that I had room to bring my son in when he gets back. So I don't have the full table. So I'm actually using the top of a cooler to cook on. I have an electric skittle, and it's going to work. And we have, we got about 3 pounds of meat. This is a chuck tender roast. It could be a chuck roast, but they had to add the word tender to it to sell it to you. You can use pretty much any meat. You can use prime rib if you want a real tender meat. So we're going to see how this is. But you can use any meat you want as long as you cook it long enough. Some of the more tougher meat, the rump roast and things, and you've got some shoulders and things that you can put in there. They even do a strip around the neck you can cook in there. All this can be cooked. You just have to cook it long enough so that it is tender. The meat of any roast should just flake apart. And this 3 pounds should be enough. Figure a pound to a pound and a half per person. And by the time we add the vegetables, the carrots, the potatoes, and the other things we're going to add, then we should have enough for 2 good meals, possibly some leftovers. And kind of banking on a little bit of that so I don't have to cook again. Okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch cameras so we can watch what I'm going to do here. Whenever you're going to cook a meat or a roast, and I'm going to do the same thing whether I do this in a crock pot, a Dutch oven, it's going to be a slow cook. Kind of a tough meat you want to cook long and slow. And if I did it in a Dutch oven, we'd be using charcoals, just like we would, I could do that outside in a Dutch oven as well. But I'm going to do this inside because I'm going to stay dry. Okay, I'm going to do Dutch oven cooking eventually, so I'll get to that. But when we do get to it, I'm going to use standard charcoal briquettes. Now you can get flavored briquettes if you want. It smells good to cook with, but unless you're cooking inside of a smoker, the flavor from the smoke will not really be beneficial. You can also get the large, wood charcoal, and that's good for flavoring too. And again, it works best in a smoker. By using the briquettes, I can calculate the temperature. It's basically 25 degrees per briquette when you're using those. Just stack them together until you get the temperature you want. And with a Dutch oven, it can become a true oven because you can put the briquettes on the bottom and the top. You put them on the lid with the lid closed. And if you're going to do all this, setup is important. Okay, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the meat cooking. And whenever you're cooking a big, thick piece of meat, you're going to basically risk burning it if you've got it directly on the metal on the pan, whether it's a Dutch oven or whatever you got. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to cut up some onions. We're going to use those as little cushions. And like I said, I'm using the things I have on hand. I would normally use a beef broth in the pan, but I don't have that, and it's too far to go to town, so I'm just going to use water, and we're going to have to get some of the seasonings out of it. I just picked up a packet of seasonings just in case I didn't have all the ingredients. And this one here, I'll get to cooking in a bit. This one here, what's it got in it? It's got cornstarch. You add a little bit of cornstarch, and you can do it manually. I've got cornstarch separately if I need more to thicken up the gravy a little bit, the juice that's in there. There will be some juice from this meat. I want to thicken it up. There's going to be salt in there. We may have to add some salt. I use kosher salt, larger grain. I like having that in there. This has got some dried onion. We're going to have real onion. This has got some brown sugar, wheat flour again for thickening. Yeast is in that. Garlic powder. We're going to have some real garlic. And it just says, may contain soy and wheat in this thing. So if you've got allergy problems, watch that. But we will add that in a bit. So let's go ahead and get cooking. Okay, I'm going to cut up my last onion here and show you what I'm doing. I really wish I had my studio camera, but we'll get it with this. I'm going to cut this in half. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting a cushion down there that we can put the meat on. Okay, I showed you the seasoning packet. Savory pot roast, yum yum. I have most of these seasonings already. I'm going to go ahead and just use this so I don't have to break them out. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some of this on top of the meat and around it. And we're going to put it later on with it, but we're going to get this rubbed into it as a good rub. And let's go ahead and flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And get it around the edges as well. Don't want to waste this. And then we can go ahead and set it in there. That's pretty good, isn't it? And we can go ahead and we are ready. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. We're going to let it cook. Before I get to that, like I said before, I was going to get beef broth. That should be enough water, like 8 ounces of water in that pan. It says not to go over a ½ inch, and that's about where we're at. And I'm going to cook that for about an hour, and we'll be back. I'll do a more professional video outside where I can actually have room to move around. Well, you can see a little bit of the steam coming up. It is hot. Not quite the temperature yet. We'll come back in a little while and see how it's doing. All right, let's start cutting up some of our other ingredients here. These are nice mild peppers. You really don't have to go too fine with these. They add more color if you can see them better. So I'm just going to kind of cut them in long wedges. And just collect everything here. You get it all ready. And then when you're ready to put it in the pot, you just dump these in. Some of these do have perhaps some seeds inside, like that one, but you just take them out. It's not a whole lot. These are ones you'd put in a salad. They didn't have full-size peppers, but these will work. They have the same flavor. And let's see. Get the seeds out. Those are ready to go in. We have some mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I'll put mushrooms in everything. And I have a little bit of the onion that was left. And I'm just going to kind of break it up or just throw it in there. I had the onions earlier on when I used them to put in there. See, how are we doing? Oh, look at that. And what you don't have is smell-o-vision. I do have garlic paste. Yeah, I could have gotten garlic, but again, I'm shopping wherever I can, and I can't always get everything that I want. I'll throw some green onions in it just for some more color and flavor. Got some baby carrots and some small potatoes, which I'll probably cut in half, maybe quarter them. So we continue on. We let this keep cooking. My timer, I think we got about 10 or 15 minutes left on the meat, and then we're going to add everything else in and let it continue to cook for another hour or two. We're going to see how it goes. The temperature is staying cool in here inside still, so I might have to add time, but we can check. The meat should be pretty close to being done. Just the center is what I got to get now. Some people like it to be a little bit red in the middle, but I'm going to go ahead and cook it all the way through, and there's enough time left with these vegetables to do that. Okay. We'll check back in a bit. Okay, the timer has gone off. Let's see how this looks. Always lift the lid away from you so that the steam goes the other way. Doesn't that look delicious? We're going to have to add a little more water to it when we get the vegetables in there, so that will work great. And mushrooms, peppers, a little bit of onion left over, potatoes. There's our garlic paste, and I'll get the carrots in here as well. Always have a place to put your lid so that it doesn't go on the ground. That will be the same when we go outside. Oh, that looks so good. I'm going to add some water again. About the same amount, maybe a little bit less. Don't want nothing to burn on the bottom. Okay. I've got more potatoes to put in there, but I'm just reaching for what's here right now. And we'll put the onions and peppers in. These are going to be so good. And we can open up the carrots. I didn't have these pre-opened, so we're going to have to work on that. Okay, well, let's get the rest of my potatoes in there, get them around. Throw our carrots in. I got a little bit larger bag because I can eat these carrots myself. I'm going to throw a little bit of green in here for my green onions. And I'm going to put a little bit of the garlic paste in there. I'm just going to put it down near the water. I'll do that in a little bit. If you could smell this, this is going to be great. I'm going to set my timer on this, and we're going to come back in the next hour, hour and a half, and see how it looks. We may go 2 hours, depends on the on how everything cooks. Since it's cold around me, you have to adjust for that. Here we go. Dinner for two. One advantage of being cook, I get to sample as I go. Carrots. I don't know if they're good for eyesight, but they taste good. Okay, you know somebody who didn't like carrots? The voice of Bugs Bunny. Mel Blanc hated the taste of carrots. But when he started doing that character with the carrots, he had to do it every time they wanted him to talk. What's up, Doc? And then be munching on carrots. He went through every vegetable out there, known to man, trying to get the sound. Cabbage, apple, everything. Anything you could think of. Nothing sounded like a carrot. So he'd have a little tin can, and he'd chomp on the carrot, and then he'd spit it in the can. Aren't you glad he was behind the scenes so you couldn't see that? Okay. Let's take a quick peek. It's been cooking for a little while. It's not ready yet, so we're just going to keep an eye on it. I might turn it down a little bit. I've been running, like I said, at 300, but I'll turn it down a little bit because I think we're getting pretty close. Getting pretty close. Don't eat while you're talking. There's an awful lot of steam coming off of that. So I think I am going to turn it down a little bit. But everything's cooking up nice. I'm getting hungry. I'm going to keep eating these carrots. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm real close to my 2-hour mark, 1 hour with the meat, 1 hour with the vegetables and potatoes. You can put anything you want in this. These things were known as just empty out the refrigerator and put whatever you need to in it. Seasonings, you can put whatever you want in it. Speaking of which, I did put the remainder of the seasoning packet in there. I waited till they cooked down a little bit so I could get to the liquid. And I did put some in there, so it's looking pretty good right now. Let me... I gotta do this with one hand. We still got a little bit longer on the meat. So we're just gonna let her cook. According to my timer, I've got another 30 minutes. But that'll be ready here in a little bit. Oh, doesn't that look good? I've got myself a nice big bowl. Dished out 2 helpings here, and we're going to sit down and eat here in a second. God will provide for us. Let me turn this around and I'll ask a blessing. God, thank you for this meal that you've provided. Thank you that you've given me, anyway, the ability to cook like this, to cook tasty food. Thank you for providing the ingredients. And bless this food, bless to our bodies, so we can continue to work for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. That was a good carrot, cooked. Piece of meat. I'm not supposed to talk with my mouth full, so I guess I better end this. I hope you can try something like this. If you don't know how to do this, there's even better cooks online that you can follow. Ken Rollins, I like to follow him. Was he the cowboy chef or something like that? Kent Rollins, K-E-N-T Rollins. And he can cook really good. He cooks a lot of outdoor stuff, which I can also show you how to do because I know how to do what he's doing. But he uses a smoker occasionally, and he has one of those modern versions of a potbelly stove that he cooks with, so enjoy him. And you can buy, things from him. He has a store. You can get seasonings and things like that. I just mix to taste whatever I got. And this is good. Enjoy it. And God bless.